Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legion and grenades. I want to talk a lot about grenades, the grenades that are in the game, the new grenade that was recently spoiled in a live stream, as well as the future of grenades in this game. If you guys are new here, we are still giving away a Shadow Collective starter box. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. And that'll be in the form of a $70 Amazon gift card. So even if you're not interested in Shadow Collective, you could probably use it on whatever you like. And that's going to run until June when the Shadow Collective box comes out. Also, I want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. They have amazing tokens, guys. Check out luxuryplaystyle.com. Just browse, look at the tokens that they've got. They're absolutely gorgeous. They've got order tokens. You can get in two different colors. They're all double-sided. You can get like your blue order tokens, your red order tokens. They've got double-sided damage, ones on one side, twos on the other side. So you take another damage, you can just flip it over. Same thing with suppression, two on the other side. Absolutely fantastic. All of these tokens are wonderful. They're gorgeous. They're sparkly bits. They're shiny. They're double-sided. They're heavy. They make you want to play your game more. And if you use code Crabbok VIP, you're going to save 15%. Also, orders of $35 or more that use that code are going to get a free Crabbok token. It's got the C on the front, the lightsaber nunchucks on the back. You can use it to mark a commander. It's got a 5 on the back. You can use that to mark higher intervals of damage. Very, very cool. And it actually fits very, very well with this set as well. So definitely use that code. Check them out. Head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. All right, so we want to talk grenades today because this game has been out for a while. We got a new grenade featured. And so I guess we'll talk about the new grenade first, but I just decided to we've got now 6 grenades in the game. Sonic Imploders is the new grenade. It's a single black die with suppressive. That's it. It's not that great that I kind of felt like I wanted to make an entire video based on it. And it's funny that that they have a scout trooper on it, because I'm like, I don't feel like the Empire would be the ones to use, especially a scout trooper. I don't feel like the Empire would be the ones to use a suppressive weapon because they have so many suppressive weapons already. I just don't really see that being the thing. I think it's kind of cool that you have like a suppressive weapon option that's now available to all the other factions. But it's just a little bit less impressive than some of the other grenades that we've got. Now, most of these grenades have been reduced in points to 3 points over time. We've had a few, but not too many points adjustments. And I think a lot of the grenades were initially overcosted, and so they've come down a little bit. So we'll start with our first 2 grenades were concussion grenades and impact grenades. When the game first came out, you could only get impact grenades if you bought like the extra additional standalone, like Stormtrooper and Rebel Trooper boxes. That was kind of the only way to get impact grenades because they did not come in the core set. But concussion grenades were like the first grenade, so impacts were kind of like the second grenade. And I mean, blast is all right, but concussion grenades never really seemed all that impressive because, well, if I'm that close, I might just there's probably not cover between us anyway, or if there is, I can just close to melee. So usually it wasn't, blast isn't really necessary on a range 1 attack, but I mean there are a handful of times when it can be. But impact grenades were taken a lot more often because there were vehicles in the game from the beginning, and impact actually stacked, and so there became some like advantage to running, to throwing multiple grenades, because again, when you've got your unit, you choose each mini, you say what weapon is each mini going to use in this attack. And so even if you don't have a heavy weapon, you still can have, all right, you can have all 4 of my guys throw the impact grenade, or I can have just one of my guys throw an impact grenade, and I can have the other 3 or however many, use their regular gun. The cool thing about all grenades, well, almost all grenades here, is that because it is a weapon, again, with the exception of smoke grenades, we'll get to that, but because they are a weapon, you can split fire. If you happen to be at close range and you are thinking about putting out a lot of suppression, and this is something that the Sonic Imploders can do, is you can split fire and say, okay, I'm going to have one guy throw a grenade here, and I'm going to have the heavy weapon shoot here, and I'm going to have the other guys use their regular gun there. The problem is, if you're split firing every group, you have to declare them all before you start rolling dice, and they all have to nobody can like use the same weapon. So you can't have like one guy throw a grenade here, one guy throw a grenade there. If you could do that, I think Sonic Imploders would be a lot better. Because if you could drop a unit into the middle of everybody, and if you could split fire, making sure that everybody threw a grenade at somebody else, then Sonic Imploders would do a tremendous amount of damage. And I mean, it's possible that there's some kind of mechanic that will eventually let that happen in the game. And if that happens, I think Sonic Imploders' value will go up. But as it stands right now with the rules, you're only throwing, a single suppressive attack with Sonic Imploders. So it ends up not being that great because you already put suppression out with a ranged attack anyway, so it's just one more. And granted, sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's really good to be able to do that, especially if you have lots of people doing it. But it just doesn't impress me as much. Now, fragmentation grenades came out with the Death Trooper wave, and that has, since its arrival, it has always had the top spot. It may be a little too strong. It may be worth more than 5 points, possibly. But it does two amazing things. When it's in your pool, it gives you Surge to Crit, which is amazing, and it's a red die. I would take fragmentation grenades over all other grenades, even if it were only a black die. Surge to Crit is awesome, and a black die is already awesome too. Fragmentation grenades are just so good that they work on everybody. If you look at the initial two factions, like Stormtroopers don't have any surge, and it upgrades. Stormtroopers have surge to hit, but they don't have any quality of dice, because they have the white dice. So it slightly increases their surge factor, but also massively increases their dice color and their odds of getting hits. Whereas the Rebels, it's the other way around. Rebels don't have any surge and for attack, but they have better dice. They have black, so it's like a less of a boost to their basic dice color, but it's a massive boost to their surge chart. So like they're good on everybody. You're either getting a massive boost on one way or a massive boost on another way. And of course, if you happen to be somebody who has white attack dice and no surge, then fragmentation grenades are even better. So the only time that any of these grenades is bad on somebody is if they roll more than one die per mini, because then potentially you are downgrading your number of dice. So if you're thinking about running fragmentation grenades on the Black Suns, for example, you have to make some choices on how many of these dudes do I want to throw the fragmentation grenade, and how many of them do I want to roll their regular dice. And you're going to end up probably finding a sweet spot somewhere in the middle, because even with only one fragmentation grenade, you're still getting that surge to crit. So as Clone Wars came out, we got EMP, droid poppers, which weren't taken all that much. They're not all that great. It's because it doesn't stack. If it's stacked, then maybe, but it doesn't stack. And then the smoke grenades, which nobody used for the longest time until they were completely heavily errated. And now they're actually viable. I think the smoke grenades are in a spot where they're viable now because they're not a weapon. It used to be a full action to do it, and now it's a free action. And that's a big thing, so you can basically drop a smoke grenade. So the idea with the smoke grenades is that you move and shoot, or you aim and shoot. You do what you got to do, and at the end of your activation, before you stop, you're like, oh, free action, now I'll drop the smoke. Because the thing is, if you're shooting in smoke, it also makes your attack end up getting a light cover to whoever you're shooting to. And so you don't necessarily want that, and so you want to shoot first and then drop it. And it was harder to do that if you had to spend a whole action to do it. And so now smoke grenades are in a better spot. It's an expendable, so you're only going to get to do it once, but it is pretty cool. And then the Sonic Imploders, where do they fit into all of this? I think they might have a spot, for builds that are really trying to put out a lot of suppression. It's a possibility, but I don't think they come anywhere near close enough to kind of taking down the fragmentation grenades. So this at this point in the video, I want to ask, what's next? What else can we get? Can anything even rival a fragmentation grenade? Because I think, if I'm looking at designing new grenades, if I were king for a day, it wouldn't be the Coke grenade, or maybe it would be the Coca-Cola grenade from Disney, or the Sprite grenade. Those would be pretty cool ones. But I was actually working on a grenades video with some grenade ideas for a double critical, and I decided, let's just kind of throw some ideas out there. I'm curious what you guys think. So, first off, there is one big problem with grenades is that some things are immune to range 1 weapons, and so the only time you can ever hit like a snow speeder with a grenade is if you've got Rex playing Take That Clankers and some clones now all of a sudden have the grenade range extended to 2. And I always thought that that was kind of a cool thing. So what if there were a grenade that had a range of 2? Like, would that be like a possibility, something worth considering, a range 2 grenade? Of course, you do have to think about the worst case scenario, because if there is a range 2 grenade, that means Rex can potentially make it range 3. And so, you know, you don't want it to be broken in that regard. But at the same time, you know, the clones already have a black die. So maybe if it was a range 2 grenade that had a white die, but maybe had something, you know, something on it that might be nice, then you could have a possibility of kind of throwing something in there, like maybe a critical 1 or something like that. Well, maybe not critical 1, because then you'd have everybody do it and you'd have critical X, right? So it could be like written in the way that Ion is, like, is if at least one of this dice are in your pool, you gain critical 1. So like maybe it's where it doesn't stack, you know, something like that. Could be an option. And so, so, you know, what about a flashbangs or some kind of stun grenade, right? Something that maybe doesn't do very much damage, but it can put out immobilized tokens. Like that could be we've already got Ion. What about Immobilize? Immobilize is very hot right now. A flashbang is a very recognizable type of grenade, and I'm not sure what the name of a flashbang grenade would be in Star Wars. I'm sure, you know, I'm sure the story group would have something like that on, you know, or it could come up with it very simple, very quickly. But I feel like that could be. I think a flashbang would totally work. A grenade that has Immobilized could be very, very cool. Although, again, if it stacks, then you're looking at Immobilize 3 at least on every attack, so you'd have to make it kind of a weaker attack, you know. And another thing that I thought about was, what about grenades? What about grenades with multiple dice? You know, 2 white dice for a range 1 attack. You know, maybe it has nothing else to it. That could be pretty cool. That could be pretty cool, and might be. I don't know if it would beat the fragmentation grenade, but it's worth considering, especially in the right unit. You know, and maybe it's a 7-point grenade for 2 white. You know, there's going to be some units that have the surge to hit that don't need it, but that are lacking dice, and so maybe they can afford to, especially if you got something that gives you free aims and things like that. It could be an option. Or what about a melee grenade? What about a grenade that is that you can use in melee, or maybe even one that you can only use in melee? What if it's got like spikes on it and you stick it to somebody or something like that, and it stuns them or electrocutes them or something like that? That could actually be a good place for the flashbang. That could be, like, if you're looking for an immobilized grenade, you don't want it to be too powerful. That could be an option, is if you made it melee only, then it'd be it'd be harder to abuse that way. But those are just a couple of my ideas for grenade ideas. I think there's plenty of fun things that they could do, and I'm sure that the Coke and Sprite bottles that you can get at Disney have some. I think they're just based on thermal detonators. That's another thing. We don't have thermal detonators, which are supposed to be massive, and they may be, you know, like a thermal detonator might end up being like a 20 or 30 point grenade, you know, depending on how they want to incorporate it into the game, or maybe not incorporate it into the game, because it could be a little bit too powerful. You might have to say this can't go on a core unit. It has to go on special forces or something like that. You could do some kind of interesting restrictions on a thermal detonator, or a thermal detonator could just simply be somebody's command card. If they ever do Leia in the Bausch or the Bouche bounty hunter disguise, I'd imagine she'd totally have a thermal detonator, and that would be, you know, I don't know, maybe 5 red or something like that, something crazy, but it'd be a one-shot thing, you know. Or how come we don't have heroes with grenade slots? You know, we don't, like, again, because most of these grenades aren't designed for that. But yeah, I'd love to get more heroes. I'd love it for it to be a little bit more common for heroes to have multiple grenade slots. I think that would be pretty cool. And that could also, again, if you have only one person that's going to be throwing a grenade, you could do grenades that are restricted to certain people, and then you can have a lot of fun with it. There's all, you know, the possibilities are almost endless. So I think it'd be really, really cool. But I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are on our new Sonic Imploder grenade, which and if you think that anything will ever take the place of the fragmentation grenade. Is this your favorite grenade, like it is mine? It's pretty much my go-to grenade, and I don't know if I'll ever go with something else. Although every once in a while I do run impact grenades, but that's rare. But it's every once in a great while. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are superheroes, and I really appreciate you all for helping make this channel possible. If you ever get a car with laser guns on top, make sure you do not fire them in traffic. Make sure you wait until you're at the appropriate car laser gun range.